you check the children.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And you got Jaime and Fuego here.
And we are here to review the brand new release, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. We actually already have a review up for both Late Night with the Devil and Immaculate, the other two horror releases that have been released widely this week. So if you're interested in our thoughts on those, go check them out. Ghostbusters is the last on the list for this week. And then they also dropped two big trailers today, because I did a trailer reaction yesterday for Aliens. By the way, what did you think of the Alien Romulus trailer? Since you didn't get to react. It was so good, right?
Good, and I expected it to be. I mean, I watched yours and Robert's reaction, and it was more or less exactly what mine was. Just, whoa! You know, and it looks so slick, but just the darkness of the corridors and everything. It is supposed to be, as Fetty said today, its own complete standalone story. It takes place in the timeline between 1 and 2, but it's not gonna. There's gonna be a little nods to things here and there, but he said it is very much like what they've done with a lot of the novels and comic books, a self-contained story and a standalone, so to speak, which is very exciting.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Speaking of the comics, I'm actually buying the current. There's two Alien series by Marvel going currently. One is, well, technically three, because there's the ongoing Alien series, which the new arc I think has had one issue of so far. But there's also Aliens, Black, White, and Blood, and the first two issues of that have come out. And then What If Aliens, which is going to be a 5-issue series, which is What If Carter Burke Survived.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what the whole story is. So it's all about Carter Burke.
Paul Reiser character. Yeah.
Paul Reiser character. So lots of good Alien stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
But we're here to talk Ghostbusters. I just wanted to get Fuego's opinion because he wasn't in on that reaction.
I loved it. There's a couple scenes in particular where I'm very curious what's going on, where there's almost like a phallic mouth thing for a second or two, and I'm wondering if it's a tail going in a mouth or something, or what the hell it could be, or if it's a face hugger bit. But yeah. And your audio went out on me again, so.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can.
What the fuck? That's so weird. My mic just died. So let's shift into Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now, this is...
franchise,
another big franchise. And this is obviously the follow-up to Ghostbusters Afterlife, which was a loose sequel to... Well, a direct sequel to Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Now we've officially gotten confirmation that it's a sequel to 2 as well in this film, because they actually mention the events of 2 in this one. But we'll do this review like we normally do, which is our overall thoughts, then our thoughts on the story, the acting, the effects, the cinematography, all that good stuff in turn. And you know what? I'm going to let you go first this time, Fuego, because I'm very curious. I don't want to poo-poo the party right off the bat.
All right, man. Well, so I actually wasn't the biggest fan of Ghostbusters Afterlife. I know that you were a little bit more so of it. It was nice to get it a little more grounded in comparison, but the third act, where it leaned really heavily into redoing so many things with, Zool and, bringing back some of the original cast and one person in CGI, whatever. This one, on the other hand, I felt like very similar to what we've seen in stuff like Jurassic World Dominion, the sequel Star Wars trilogy. The way I was thinking about it as I was stuck in traffic driving home on the I-17 was, I'm like, this feels like overstuffing the turkey with a kitchen sink. Like everything, throw every goddamn idea that they could think of in there. Some okay. I like the return to New York City. I thought that was cool to just say. It felt more Ghostbusters-y to me, not being in Oklahoma or whatever.
Yeah.
And, the acting wasn't bad, but there were way too many characters. There was way too much going. It felt so much like a Marvel or a DC movie to me, especially the opening big action sequence.
Skybeam.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, what the hell? So, well, I think kids are going to like it who haven't really seen the original Ghostbusters and stuff. There's a lot for them to enjoy, and it's like big, dumb, fun action, whatever. And then the purists are going to hate it, absolutely hate it, I would imagine. I'm somewhere in the middle, but definitely leaning more so towards the meh kind of unnecessary aspect of this. It was nice there's a couple scenes, especially with Ray and Winston, that really kind of genuinely got me a little bit, and seeing them in slightly expanded roles. But there were too many characters, too much going on. Kumail Nanjiani, I like him, man, but the whole thing with him, I was just like, this doesn't feel like a Ghostbusters movie to me. You know, so that's my thoughts.
Yeah. I have a lot of the same issues. I agree. This is a young person's Ghostbusters, but at least in Afterlife, I think there was things for the older Ghostbusters fans to kind of grab onto and kind of enjoy. This one, there was nothing new for really anyone to grab onto, except there's a new villain, which I appreciated. I'm glad they didn't go back to the well yet again to old Ghostbusters villains. I'm like, okay, give me something new at least. I actually liked the silhouette of the villain. I thought it cut a cool look, but ultimately there's nothing outside of that. There's nothing new in this. There's no new characters. It's just all of the characters from the past couple of movies, and no one gets anything really special. And like the main plot line they gave to McKenna Grace was not something I was like a big fan of. And this is not to poo-poo on the choices being made by the characters and stuff, but to like it was weird writing. It was a weird decision to make in the script phase, in my opinion. Because it just ultimately was a little bit pointless, and I mean, I get what they were going for, but it kind of fell flat to me. I think that, you know, it was trying for nostalgia, but failing, unfortunately for them. And, oh no, okay, so, yep, that's why I need to plug the mic or the camera in directly. Okay, no, I'm seeing some glitches on my end. Forgive the glitches,
I saw
guys.
like little flicker.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I disconnected and reconnected my whole computer setup in a new room, and I gotta figure some stuff out to make sure I don't have issues. But anyway, the overall I was just disappointed, and the biggest thing to me was you referenced it so to expand on it without directly telling where I'm expanding on in your thoughts, I thought the new lore that was added in this film was completely unnecessary and stupid. And like just so unnecessary and stupid, and I thought it was just a bummer and a really bad idea to do, but there it is. They went with it.
Yeah, I felt like in some ways with trying to go to this deeper lore, because in the very first Ghostbusters movie, you don't really find too much out about Zool until like near the end of the movie. They tried to really, almost like with Lord Vigo, go really deeply developed backstory and all of this different stuff about how, you know, we actually got to this. I can't even Garakan or whatever the hell they were called.
Yeah. Garak or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that you could tell they put a lot of effort into, you know, this stuff, but it didn't feel as Ghostbusters-y to me in that regard. It felt almost, especially with, you get Patton Oswalt in here, and this isn't really a spoiler because you see him in the trailers. He is almost like in the second Aquaman movie, where there's this one moment where there's just exposition dump of all of this lore about, okay, so this, and here's some hearsay through folklore and legends about this, and it didn't feel like a Ghostbusters movie to me. So, you know, Baby Busters, sure, they'll probably be a little more into it, you know, because I saw some little kids walking out of the theater, and they were stoked, dude. You know, they were there with their parents. The parents didn't look as excited.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know. I'm curious, since the marketing didn't seem quite as heavy-handed as for Afterlife, but that one made over $200 million, which is why they greenlit this sequel. So I'm curious how this one's going to do, because I even saw our buddy Jason Smith post. He's like, I forgot this was even coming out, you know, when it was. So I don't know, man. Once again, disappointed. But do you want to hit the story? Do you want me to hit the story?
I'll hit it real quick. Yeah, no, I mean, it's just the crew from the last film have all moved to New York, and they all live in the firehouse now, and they're the new Ghostbusters team. And there is a new MacGuffin in this little sphere that is supposedly a prototypical ghost containment unit. Because the whole idea is that the containment unit that was set up in the 80s in the original film is now getting full 40 years later.
Yeah,
and so so they have to figure out what to do about that. But at the same time, there's a new MacGuffin, which is this sphere that is a containment vessel for something else. But that's where this new lore comes in, where they talk about this ghost busting team in 1901
Yeah.
That's like it unfortunately
even
it
further
watered
back.
and further
Yeah.
back it watered down the idea of the Ghostbusters in such an unnecessary way, and it like wasn't that great of an idea that I can't believe they actually ran with it. But yeah, I mean, so that's the story. The Ghostbusters are now living, or the whole team, the old or the young team of Ghostbusters, the kids plus Paul Rudd and his wife or new wife,
Yeah.
and
Love
then
interest,
yeah,
he's the new stand-in dad essentially for
And-
Finn Wolfhard and McKenna Grace.
yep,
Yeah.
and Winston and Ray are close confidants at this point. So
Yeah, Winston's like their benefactor. He's the one,
right, the
helping with
financial
money,
backer.
and-
Yeah,
yeah,
mhm.
yeah, the entrepreneur. I think they call him at one point in the script. Yeah.
So yeah, they're all trying to make a living as Ghostbusters now, and then basically this new ghost containment unit is slowly kind of disintegrating, and then eventually the thing inside gets free, and boom, that's the big bad. And that's the long and short of it without spoiling anything.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, it just was, unfortunately, the second act to me was pretty boring. Like I was not interested. Like I was just waiting. Okay, when are we gonna get to the action and like all the stuff that's supposed to happen? And even then, when we got to it, there was a lot less than I anticipated. Like the whole. I think they even show a part in the trailer where the sky beam and the ghosts flying and stuff. But unlike in part 1 or even part 2, like there was no. We didn't get to see any random ghosts in the escape having fun and stuff like that. Like it was all just this final confrontation, and it just left me wanting quite a bit.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't even really go in with major expectations of any kind, and I got about what that anticipation level was really, I don't know, man. It wasn't a complete waste of time, though. I mean, I've seen some people just trashing the hell out of this already on social media and whatever, and I know it's the hardcore fans of one. And I see a lot of people that don't even like 2. I really dig 2 personally. I'm in that camp of fans of the original 2 and stuff. So, yeah, story didn't really do much. I can see your point about the second act, man, and the fact that that's when it does make the shift to McKenna Grace and this other new character that she starts interacting with. And there was some tonal stuff to that where I was wondering the nature of the two of them. You know?
I mean, I think it was pretty overt.
Yeah. Especially as it developed and stuff. And this is where I'm kind of walking on eggshells because I don't want to spoil anything.
Right.
But man, Finn Wolfhard didn't have jack squat to do in this movie, man. Nothing. And teased
The
a little
wife,
more.
Paul Rudd's wife didn't have anything to do.
Oh, the wife was the most forgettable of the entire new family unit, man. She had a few quips here and there, but there's one point where she's sitting downstairs and she's like drinking iced tea and scrolling on her phone.
Podcast was almost entirely unnecessary as well.
I forgot all about that kid, to be
honest. When he showed up at first, I was like, oh, okay. And then he called himself Podcast. I was like, oh, shit, that's right. There was a podcast kid in the first movie.
And also,
Afterlife.
I'd forgotten about the girl that Winston's niece or whatever she was, the one who had kind of a little love interest thing going with Finn Wolfhard's character in the previous one. So I'd forgotten about her too. And I'm just like, oh, they're literally going Jurassic World Dominion. They're bringing everybody into this movie, and like I said, overstuffed that turkey with everything, man. Kitchen sink shit, dude. Just put it all in there. And also the fact that we needed a baby Slimer in this, the fact that we needed to bring back the little Stay Puffs, dude. It's like, let's sell more toys. It's obviously what's going to appeal to the kids and
that
whatever.
Wasn't baby Slimer. That was just Slimer.
Well, there's also that we won't get into it too much because there's one ghost that you see in the second act, and then it shows up briefly in the third act that looks, at least to me, for my money, like a small Slimer. Spits green goo at people, like Slimer. It felt like a baby Slimer.
That's a corporeal looking thing, though. Anyway, I know what you're saying, but
yeah, it's like baby version of Slimer.
It spits slime, sure, but anyway.
And you see Slimers in this from the trailers. Like that's really the only thing Finn Wolfhard's character has to do.
He is large.
Go after Slimer.
Very unnecessary as well.
And all the marketing is just, I mean, between the candy wrappers, between the references of products and whatnot. I know that's the way of the blockbuster at this point. I mean, Guinness and the Aquaman sequel. I mean, yeah, they're not making any qualms about it. So yeah, the story fell flat, didn't bring too much interesting or new to the table. Acting, though, I mean, there's not really too much to go over, but I didn't really think the acting from anybody was bad, and Paul Rudd charms me in anything he does. Like,
Yeah, there was nothing bad, but there was nothing really to write home about either. It was just kind of
Yeah.
there, you know?
yeah, I mean, you can see the twinkle in Dan Aykroyd's eye, because this is his baby that he has just tried so damn hard
Yeah.
with video games, and he was the one who pushed forward to make these new movies, and twisted Bill Murray's arm to come back, which I wasn't really too sure if he was going to return after he had such a tiny, like, minuscule role in this.
When
and,
you only have 2 scenes to commit to, it's easy to do, I imagine.
yeah,
You
yeah, exactly.
but,
But
yeah.
you see him in the trailer, so
Mhm.
he's fine with a quip or two here and there, but he's kind of phoning it in, whatever. I mean, I was really happy that, more so than anyone, with the returning peeps with Winston, man. I thought he was the most, like, I mean, you could tell he still has the chops to bring it. I saw Aykroyd kind of a little shaky in some of his scenes, but he seemed very confident and and on point. So
I agree.
I don't really have much else beyond that.
No, I agree with everything you said. I don't really have anything much beyond. I mean, I agreed where I needed to. So
Yeah. How about effects? What do you
yeah,
think of
effects
that?
wise, it's a Ghostbusters movie, and at this point, yeah, it's packed full of CG, but everything works great. Like, I never was pulled out of the movie. Slimer's the only one that kind of looks different from all of the other ghosts, like literally all of the other ghosts that are blue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Which I thought was an odd choice. Yeah.
but it is what it is, and I mean, all the effects were fine. Like, it didn't.
Yeah.
None of the effects pulled me out of it. It just wasn't that interesting of a film. I mean, cinematography wise, it's shot fine. But again, it's not it's not shot particularly interestingly.
Yeah.
It's just pretty much, showing us what we need to see, but not in any particularly interesting or stylistic kind of way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I felt from a directorial standpoint, even though I had issues with Afterlife, Ivan Reitman's son, Jason Reitman,
yeah.
directing that one, he chose not to return for this one. He's still on for a writing credit and producer. I thought that was maybe, from a filmmaking standpoint, made a little bit better. As far as just
I definitely agree.
Shots of New York City, or if they filmed it in Toronto, I don't know any of those details, because I know it doubles for the NYC a lot of the time. I liked some of that stuff. I thought it looked good enough. One interesting thing that I was thinking about on the drive home, though, was that, so in the first and in the second Ghostbusters movie, when you have the attack of the creature in the third act, you see these huge shots of, like, tons of extras in New York City, just like throngs and throngs of people. I didn't really feel that as much, aside from one bit on the beach, without getting into too much. Aside from that, it felt very contained to the cast, and so it didn't make the stakes feel as high for me, I guess, without seeing all of New York being, and the people within it being terrorized. I guess that's just a small gripe, but it was just something that came to my mind as I was trying to think of little bits to throw out as I was driving home. So, yeah.
No, that's fair. Sound design was all fine. All of that worked just fine for me. So
yeah, and of course we have the classic song coming back, and
and dominating.
Too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, even to the point where one of the funny bits with Paul Rudd that did make me chuckle was where he just starts kind of half quoting the song.
yeah.
That made me laugh, actually.
Especially and I just gotta say one last thing.
Yeah, you know what it's gonna be.
That was funny, yeah. But
he's a charmer, though, dude. You can. I mean, he always amuses me in everything I see him, and even if he is a little more restrained in this role. So
yeah. I agree. It just ultimately was just an underwhelming kind of experience, I think, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
So it's geez, my volume's playing something.
I can still hear you.
Yeah, no, sorry. I teared up at the end of Afterlife, I gotta be honest. So Afterlife definitely got me. This did not get me nearly anywhere close to where the last one got me, and this one ultimately just felt, in my adult eyes, not for me. It's for my kids eventually and stuff like that. So
yeah, and dare I say, this one didn't even try to hit any of those emotional beats, in my opinion. Really, it didn't even take the swing at it. It stayed very, very lighthearted. It didn't really. I mean, maybe with McKenna Grace's friend a little bit, but that's even the smallest note of it I can think of.
Yeah, it's kind of pushing it to even say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer, unfortunately, but you know, a lot of people will probably still like it. It's just obviously not Fuego's in my bag, but you know, unfortunately I'm seeing that the Rotten Tomatoes last time I looked was like 46%. You know, so that's about where I'm at. Yeah, you know, so there you go, guys. I mean, that's gonna do it for our thoughts on Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Again, sorry for the lack of background for me. Sorry for the glitching. Just moved to a whole new room, so I got to figure out a couple of technical issues here. But thank you for joining me, Fuego. I appreciate it.
I'm glad I was able to, man. Yeah, it's been a busy start to the second half of the spring semester, so yeah, glad I could fit this one in. So.
All right, so thank you guys very much for watching. Let us know what your thoughts are on Ghostbusters Frozen Empire in the comments down below. Until next time. Oh, wait, thank you to all of our patrons, by the way, for all the support. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you. But until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
And gracias, Jaime Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.
Stay scared.